Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elisha's Space, where we have these conversations, these challenging conversations, where we become vulnerable and have conversations that have been regarding issues of the heart and around issues of faith. You know, um, today we're going to do a talk around Michael Phelps' journey. Now, I'm not going to show all of his journey. We're just going to kind of go through a clip, and you can review the clip with me, and we'll do commentary on that, on some things he's learned around depression. I am also someone who, and it's part of the reason why I got into this field, why I wanted to do this. Um, this is the happiest I've ever been in my career. You know, is I've worn different hats, and this is the best career for me. And not everybody can say that. That's really a gift, right? Um, but at some point in time, I also was going through a pretty severe depression. I felt like, and it's not uncommon, but I felt like the world was better off if I was not in it. And there were times I would beg God to allow me to just not wake up. My relationship with Him was okay, it was good. And I knew that at the end of the day, I really felt like my kids were better off without me. And I'm so glad that I got on the other side of that. There was this woman who would call me every day for 3 months. And she would pray with me. And that was how I got through that. And there were times that prayer was my lifeline. And I will never forget. I don't even know if she knows how much that meant to me. So I shared with you a little bit about my story and why sharing this story is so important to me. And lately, well, not really lately, but the last few years, mental health. I'm a pastoral counselor, you know, and that area is becoming more and more understood. Mental health is being more and more, and issues around mental health are being more and more understood. They're being more and more made okay. And the reason I did this podcast, the reason why I started it, is because I wanted to kind of dispel some of the misunderstandings there are and make this as more normal. This was my way of making this more normal. The podcast started early 2021. I wasn't planning to do all this talking, but I'll tell you. It started early 2021. It was right after the year of 2020, that year of COVID. And I just wanted to bring more resources out there because there was so much misunderstanding about this topic. It was looked at differently. So I'm thankful that other celebrities and um, there's more information out there that you can tap into. Now, not all the information is that great, but I'm thankful that that information is out there. So let's go ahead and review this um, little video that where Michael Phelps talks about some things, and I'll put in my information and share as well within my information as well. So I hope I, hey, okay. So let's go ahead. It's the little things, y'all. I get so excited. So let's go ahead and we will review this video together, and we'll have this chit chat about the video together.
Day, every single day of the week, every single day of the year. I'm just somebody who always wanted to be as perfect as I could in the pool and try to get faster and faster every single time that I jumped in the pool.
So I'm going to stop there just for a moment. I know you're like, Elijah, stop. So first of all, let me give you the information. This comes from Mashable. Um, and Mashable gives some pretty good content. And I'll make sure to put the link in the comments so that you have that as well. And I am not sure why I got that. Hopefully it will go away. And I apologize, y'all. I apologize. Just work with the sis. I'm still learning how to do all this stuff. So anyway, the desire to be perfect is a sign of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is like a hiccup in your thinking process. Okay. And it is it also has to do with all or nothing thinking, right? So Michael Phelps, um, and most Olympians or people that are in sports, a lot of, I won't say all of them, but in general, quite a few have told me that and it's that competitive spirit, right? That all or nothing thinking that they develop. So within all or nothing thinking, um, that's kind of like what, let me just do this and then that'll go away. So that all or nothing thinking is like a cyclical thinking, and it's not a healthy way to think because we are not perfect. We are not, we can never be um, all in all. And the thing is about depression is you can look healthy. Like I think about Twitch, right? You can look healthy and not be healthy at all, right? Or not be at a place where you're being your authentic self. A lot of times, especially in these types of roles, people are wearing a mask. That's really what depression is like. It's like you're wearing a mask, and you don't want people to see the authentic you, because if they were to see the authentic you, they don't think you would accept them or like them. So they'll pretend to be something that they're not in order to get to the place where they're wanting to go. It's like they don't think they're good enough to be who they are. Isn't that sad? So that's kind of a way to kind of look at that and see um, that idea of being perfect. Okay. And the idea of being perfect, it really points to strong insecurity, which from everything that I said, hopefully you got that this person is dealing with some insecurities. And the idea of not knowing who you are, not knowing your identity, that can affect you as well. So I'm going to play a little bit more and then we'll talk a little bit more.
So for me, I was extremely just hard on myself that no amount of pressure, fear could ever top what I was doing to myself to prepare myself mentally to get to that point. I could go back to 2012 and say it was a terrible Olympics, and people were like, you won 6 medals. Like, what are you talking about? No.
And that blows my mind. Like, this is like one of the top Olympians in the world. We'll talk about Simone Biles too at another time, right? And I look at these people and they're doing things that most people Well, I mean, I, most people can't do what they do, right? That's why they're Olympians. People can't do what they do. And to hear him say, that to hear him say this to me is mind boggling, and that just shows how having a wearied heart, carrying that heaviness, how that heaviness can weigh on you, because it's like you're not even able to celebrate your milestones. You're not able to celebrate your wins because of the weight that depression bears on you.
It was awful. Like, in my opinion, it wasn't good. I mean, I wasn't in a good mental, I guess, frame of mind. So I basically almost really thought it was a job more than anything else. And I just had to do it to get through it because I was obligated to. I didn't want to. I had no desire to be there. 04 to 08 were probably the roughest 4 years of my career, just coming down off of that high in 2008 of doing something that nobody had ever done before, kind of being semi-lost in a way. And those 4 years were a major struggle for me, and I just wanted to try to do the bare minimum that I could to get by.
And that's common for people that are dealing with depression. It's common for them to say, I'm just trying to do what I can to get by. It's like, you're just connecting the dots. And it's like you're almost in, and I said this on my website too, when I wrote a blog. Actually, it was a specialty when I was talking about this on one of my specialty pages for depression. It's like you're in a cloud. It really is. It's like you're in a cloud and you just don't know how to come out of the cloud. It's like you're in a fog. I grew up in Ohio. Ohio, and there were some days just being in that regional area, the fog would be so thick. Even if you put your bright lights on, you couldn't see. You know what I mean? You couldn't see. And that's kind of like sometimes what that's like with depression. It's like things are just so, you can have all these great things going on around you and you still can't see your way forward. And you're just like doing, oh, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. It's like you can't celebrate you. Or it's the celebration part. You just can't celebrate. You just don't feel like you can celebrate.
And that's what I did. I mean, I was somebody who had no self-confidence, no self-love. I looked at myself as just a swimmer, and that was it. So I didn't really know or show who I really was as a person. And nobody really saw that. I think I kind of had to go through a couple things that helped me just open up and talk about things that
I'm going to pause right here. I know he's mid-sentence, and I apologize that I broke him up mid-sentence. But one of the things that he's saying here, I think is really important. People, all he knew is that he was a swimmer. And I've said this on, my podcast on that's gone on my podcast. I've said this. I think I said this on a past video I did with YouTube too. Is that, you are not what you do, right? Like, and you're not your role. Like, you are who you are. So, for instance, you may be a mother, you may be a sister, you may be a daughter, you may be a business owner or an employee, but that's not who you are. Those are roles that you play. You also are not who your activity is. Your activity doesn't define you. More than one person can be doing the same activity and they're different people. So you might be a runner, or you might be someone that like has the gift of gab, right? But that doesn't define who you are. You know what defines who you are? Your character, who you are. Your kindness, your caring for others, your the way you show love, you being You are who you are. It doesn't have anything to do with what you do, and it has nothing to do with the role you play. And that's why self care is so important. You getting to know you, because the better you get to know you, the more you can love and appreciate yourself. And it cannot move you or shift you if things change with your circumstances within your roles or your activities, because you know who you are. Okay.
Have
And
been
that's a
bothering me
journey.
for so long that I carried through my whole entire life, and that was a struggle. But I wanted to do it. At that point, it was when I was depressed, going through those suicidal thoughts of not wanting to be alive. So for me, I almost wanted to find a different path to take to give myself a chance to be able to get stronger and to be able to have the tools and the resources to be able to move through these things and ask for help when I needed. And that was something that significantly changed my life. And now, still today, it's not every day that's super easy for me. I still have struggles, but I now have the tools and the resources to learn and to go through these struggles and to help others as well.
So, one of the first things that he did that I strongly advocate for is that he built his community. He built his, and it probably, just like what I alluded to earlier, when that individual called me every single day to see how I was doing. Not a day went by that she didn't call me and see how I was doing. That, I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. And this was someone I wasn't really close to. Like, we're like that was a seasonal friendship. Like, we're still friends. I still consider her a friend, and I think she considers me a friend too. But our friendship has changed just like other relationships change. But during that season of my life, she showed up for me in a way I needed her to show up for me. And if you listen more to Michael Phelps' story, you'll see also for him that he had people show up for him. And that made a great difference. That made a great difference for him.
One thing that I still do today is I just communicate. I was really good at compartmentalizing it and throwing it so far down where I didn't have to deal with it. I didn't have to talk about it. I didn't have to uncover it. And I would just go through life and I would just keep shoving it down farther and farther and farther until I got to the point where I just blew up. And that's not healthy and it's not safe. For me,
So let me mention this too. There's no part such thing as a healthy way to compartmentalize things, not in my humble opinion. I think that I believe that everything is interconnected. Here's an example, and I use this example quite often. An example of this would be if you're having some challenges with anger, it's not surprising that you're also going to have some challenges with high blood pressure, right? But as you work through your challenges of anger, it's also going to affect, or it can affect, let's say it that way, and your blood pressure leveling itself out. You see that? So the way we're built is spirit, soul, and body, and they are interconnected. And so, in order to try to compartmentalize things, if naturally our bodies are not created that way, then why do we think it's normal to do it in other ways too? There's no way, for instance, if you're having some traumas that have occurred in your lifetime, that's not going to affect other relationships. It just is, because it changes your perspective. In an earlier video, I had talked about the brain and how trauma affects the brain. And this is an example of how compartmentalization can negatively affect your health. When you are intentional about going into a healthier place, you can't help to but see the changes for you within your spirit, your soul, and your body. There is no compartmentalization when it comes to that. Now, I do understand with professions and things of that nature, you do become trained to learn about and move in compartmentalization. But even that, especially in caregiving roles, you are taught healthy ways to cope through those items so that it doesn't bleed into different areas. And that's what we have to learn to do.
I just understand that if I am having a bad day or if I'm going through a tough time, I know to ask a question. I've come to be able to accept any answer that I'm given. I think that's something that's so important that all of us can do better. For me, when I start isolating myself and shutting other people out, that's a sign that I'm going to need to talk about whatever is going on in my life to be able to push through it and to be able to learn on how to deal with it in the future. This is
And so let me also add and say withdrawal is a sign of depression. You know, pushing people away, you know, it feels comfortable at times, more comfortable at times, but it's not healthy. And that's why you always want to build, continually build, and have people you trust in your circle. And let's not forget the importance of talking to a professional as well. Okay. But you can't, but having that tribe, having that community, having your people there that you trust, you know, there nothing beats that. So and that's something that he alludes to. And it's almost sounds to me as if Michael Phelps, the his people got him through this, you know, got him through a very difficult time.
this is all just a whole learning process for me that's never going to stop. This is going to be something that's going to be with me forever. And now I'm able to have the tools to be able to help me get through whatever is brought to me.
And so that's it regarding that video. But I thought it was really a really good video. It was something that I wanted to share with you because he didn't just share his story of depression, he also talked about some things that he learned throughout his situation. And one of the biggest things that he got from this situation, and this is just a clip, but one of the biggest things that he got from this situation is he got the he got the tools he needed came from working with others, connecting with others, and being transparent and showing his vulnerability towards others so that he can get to a healthier place. See, in any area of healing, you're not going to be able to get to that healthy place unless you're willing to open up and become vulnerable and allow people to see your wounds so that you could get healing. I am convinced that, you know, people like Twitch and some other and others, so many others, but I'll mention Twitch because people were so surprised at how he passed. People would say, you know, he was dancing and he was doing this and he was doing that. Well, most people who are experiencing depression are wearing a mask and you have no clue as to what they're dealing with because they, especially if they've been dealing with depression for a long time, you have no clue with what they're going through with what they're going through. So if you notice, like with a loved one, like you know how you get that, I call it a ting. You know how you get that ting and it lets you know something's not right? Don't let go of that ting. Check on your people just to make sure, because you just don't know how you connecting with them is going to make a difference for them. This person, for me, called me every single day for 3 months and got me through one of the most difficult times in my life. And I am so thankful that she was part of my community. She was part of my people. Because I don't know if I'd be here today if it weren't for her. Isn't that amazing? The power of connection. Wow. I truly hope that this has assisted you, if this has brought you greater light, if it has encouraged you. Drop a comment if it has spoken to you. And don't forget to subscribe. We're building a healing space together. Thank you for joining Elisha Space.